Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of On Cloud Anime. And oh boy, do I have a lot to unpack this episode. So, at the time of recording, fall season has officially started, meaning that it is the end of summer. And to be honest, summer was kind of lackluster for the most part. I mean, of course, I get Oshi No Ko, which was the highlight of the entire summer. And I watched the new episode today, and oh my god, have I never fangirled like that. It was kind of crazy. Imagine this voice that you're hearing right now being like high-pitched yelling, and that was basically my reaction to the end credits of the final episode. Actually, now that I look back on it, I wouldn't call this season lackluster. It was more chill because it was more focused on like slice of life and romances as the highlight of the season, which, you know, if you know me, I'm perfectly fine with that. In fact, I love it, which is why it was great that Alia Hides Her Feelings in Russian came out, Shika no ko no ko no ko kosh kantan, Too Many Losing Heroines, all great series. I just didn't think of them too much, but one show that did stand out was 2.5D Seduction. If you told me at the beginning of the summer season that 2.5D Seduction was going to end up being one of the highlights of the summer season, I would have seen you as crazy. Even when I did the top 10 animes that came out that year, I hadn't fully gotten into the show, and I could not give enough input on it. And it was just an okay show. The entire reason I watched it was just for the sake of, oh, it was like a fan service cosplay anime, whatever. It's probably going to be like so trashy that it's kind of funny. And for the most part, it was kind of like that for the first 3 episodes. And then it started to slowly develop into a cosplayer finding her place within the cosplay world and connecting with other people. And I didn't think that that was going to be a thing that was talked about too much. And it was like a pleasant surprise. And this morning, when I was watching the Oshi No Ko episode, I was surprised to find out that this anime is going to be a 24-episode anime. Like, it's kind of crazy because I did not expect that, but I think it totally deserves it because already the first 2 episodes of the second part are so much more interesting compared to the first season that I could actually see myself watching this all the way through. Whereas with the first part of the season, I kind of struggled a bit at times. And that's because another thing about the second part is that it's building more of a cast. Like, characters are being introduced way faster than it was in season 1, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's one thing to look forward to in fall. I don't think many people are going to watch it, but I'm just letting you know that I am, and that's enough for me. But other than that, fall season of 2024 had a lot to live up to, considering last year we had bangers such as Free Run, Spy Family, Apothecary Diaries. Even in the romance section, we had the 100 Girlfriends That Really, Really Love You, Undead Unlock, and of course, how could I forget I'm in Love with the Villainess that came out last year and is one of my most underrated animes of 2023. If you've not seen it, it was pretty good. It was about this girl who got isekai'd into another world, and she tries to win the affection of the villainess. I know, that's crazy plot twist, but it's actually a really endearing show, and you should totally watch it when you have time. Holy shit, I just realized how off topic I went. Okay, so this season, there were a couple of animes that were supposed to come out this season, and, you know, they still did. But if you're not aware, back in the beginning of summer, Netflix leaked a bunch of things, such as Dandadan and a Terminator anime, which I didn't even know about. But things like Dandadan got leaked in its entirety, like the opening came out, and the full episodes were released on shitty quality, to be fair, so it's not that big of a deal. And I also didn't watch it because what's the point of watching shitty quality anime when I have Netflix and could just wait a month or two? So yeah, the Dandadan opening is fire. That is one thing I did look at. It's made by Creepy Nuts. You should go give it a quick listen. It's going to be very popular because, again, like I said, it's Creepy Nuts. They just constantly drop out bangers whenever they're involved with any anime, like they did with Mashal. And also, seeing the Dandadan opening with proper quality on YouTube is kind of surreal after seeing it only on TikTok and through leaks. So that's pretty exciting. The first episode itself was pretty cool. I'm very excited to see that it's kind of action, but with like a mix of romance here and there. You know me, I always welcome the romance, so I'm perfectly fine with it, and I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes. Next up is Blue Lock. How do I say this? I love Blue Lock. When the first season came out, I was very excited. In fact, I waited 8 months for the first season to drop because of how excited I was instead of reading the manga. And although I did love season 1, you could easily tell that there were problems with the animation. There was CGI that made it look awkward. And granted, it is very hard to animate the movements of the characters, especially with the ball. And when the animation popped off, it popped off. The feelings were there, and the voice acting really carried it through its rough patches. And because of that, I was very excited to see season 2. The opening started off with like one of the best animated scenes in the entirety of Blue Lock, like the best animated 1 minute of the entire show. It was incredible. And then we go to the opening, and I just look at it and I think, yikes. Like, the animation was very rough. So they saw how much people liked Judgment, the second opening for Blue Lock, and they tried to replicate that by putting crazy amounts of effects throughout the entirety of the third opening to try and compensate for like the weird looking animation. And it looked kind of crappy in my opinion. The song wasn't too great, and that hurts to say as a Blue Lock fan because the openings for season 1 were actually fire and everything just looked amazing when it wanted to be. And unfortunately, I just didn't get that with season 2's opening. I hope that changes, but, only time will tell. I heard that apparently Isagi's voice actor, the main character of the show, said that most of the animation time did go into the U20 football match because it's going to be one of the craziest scenes. And if they do it right, then there is going to be a lot more Blue Lock fans. And I welcome it because this season was fire when reading the manga. The entirety of the Blue Lock manga is fire. The art is amazing, and sometimes the anime just doesn't live up to the expectations that the manga sets. But I am still going to watch the season because I just love Blue Lock so much. Next up is Re:Zero. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. I have not watched Re:Zero. I don't know anything about Re:Zero besides Rem, and Amelia, and Subaru crashing out multiple times for justifiable reasons. I think with Re:Zero, it's just too much of a commitment time. There's a lot of episodes, and I just never gotten around to watching it, especially with the fact that I'm not into isekais that much. I know Re:Zero is different from the average isekai, but still, it's just something I need to get around. And I am certain that season 3 is going to pop off because the first episode was like an hour long. And funny enough, it also got leaked. It wasn't related to the Netflix leak, surprisingly, but it's still kind of funny to think about how both these things got leaked at around the same time. So yeah, I hope Re:Zero fans enjoy that. You're probably going to be traumatized and you're going to love every second of it, you masochistic fucks. This is going to be one that doesn't get talked about as much. Uzumaki. So there is this manga artist called Junji Ito, and he makes like horror mangas. I'm not too familiar with his works, but I know that he is very popular in the manga spectrum. And this is going to be like the first piece of work that is adapted that isn't going to look like crap. You see, with the way that most anime runs, it's kind of hard to create a horror aspect to a lot of them. So because of that, something like Junji Ito's works are hard to adapt. But apparently Uzumaki has been worked on for a couple years now. I think like 4 years. And now it's finally getting released with only like 4 episodes. I'm not an animator, so I'm not going to talk about the production time. But the first episode was definitely interesting. And I will watch it to its entirety because like I said, it's only 4 episodes, so I can handle it even if I didn't like it. But the premise of it is Uzumaki, I'm assuming means spiral because of how much spirals show up in the show. So there's like this spiral thing and the main character's like grandpa was obsessed with it. And so it becomes like a weird addiction. And eventually, because of this, the main character hates spirals and like they're like a curse to him, Honestly, after the things I saw in the first episode, I could understand it. I too would think that I was cursed if I was in his situation. Now, the reason I say that this show is going to be overlooked was because it got a fate worse than Disney buying its rights. It is going to air on Adult Swim. And honestly, maybe I'm just not old enough to understand, but who the fuck watches anime on Adult Swim? Like exclusively to the point where they would watch something new like Uzumaki, which most people probably never heard of. This could just be me being out of touch. I don't know. But it's definitely an interesting choice. I'm sure like Crunchyroll would have been happy to stream it, even Netflix, honestly. I know we give Netflix a lot of shit, but I'm sure people would be fine going on Netflix to look for Uzumaki. Speaking of having your rights bought out by Disney, Bleach 1000-Year Blood War. Yeah, this show got its rights bought out by Disney. And because of that, the show isn't popping off as hard as it could be if it was properly marketed. So because of this, Bleach airs on Hulu. Anything bought by Disney airs on Hulu. In fact, something I learned is thanks to the new Disney Plus feature where you can watch Hulu on it, you could actually watch Bleach on Disney Plus, which is what I'm doing now because I'm going to be honest with you, Hulu's UI fucking sucks and I hate it. I hate it so much that I even care enough to point it out. Normally, I don't care about the way UIs look. Hulu's just sucks. But hey, that's just a personal thing. Other than that, Bleach is incredible. 1000-Year Blood War has never disappointed so far. The openings are fire. The endings are fire. The animations are fire. Everything about it is fire. I cannot wait to see how the rest of this season goes. I don't know how much of Bleach is left over because I've not read the manga nor am I aware of future events. But if you're a Bleach fan, then I don't know if waiting a decade was worth the wait to you, but this is still one of the best things on television as of right now. 1000-Year Blood War is definitely rewarding to all the loyal Bleach fans because Bleach fans are probably some of the most patient motherfuckers in the anime community. Waiting a decade for nothing to come out, and also the amount of fillers there are in Bleach, yes, you can skip them, but there's still so many, and it's kind of unbearable at times. That's not even mentioning the fact that it was a big 3 anime, meaning that when it first aired, it had the long recaps, it had moments of unnecessary dialogue just to fill up the time. So yeah, being a fan of Bleach isn't always the easiest, but when Ichigo pops out a Bankai, it's very rewarding. These were the main animes that I wanted to talk about, and now I'm just going to talk about ones that I knew prior going into the season that, I don't know, I just feel like mentioning. First off, Shangri-La Frontier. I saw this when it first came out, like the trailers and stuff, and I never got around to watching it, but I do really want to give it a chance because it looks pretty cool. So also just like the main character, I just love his design. Blue Box. I did actually watch the first episode and I do have a bit of history with this. It was the top of Shonen Jump, which a romance anime doing that? Kind of crazy. So watch out for that if you're a romance fan. I don't know too much about the future of this story since I didn't get that far in the manga before deciding to just wait for the anime. But yeah, look out for that. Next up, Ranma 1/2. I'm pretty sure this was made by the same creator that did Inuyasha and Urusei Yatsura. It was also one of the anime that got leaked on Netflix. I saw its opening before it released. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a watch. I don't know. Next is Tying Up the Knot with an Amagi sister. So far, from the looks of it, it seems like it's trying to be the same as like the quintessential quintuplets. One guy who's like studious is going to marry one of the sisters. I'm going to be honest. If you even question who's going to win, I question your intelligence. Because from the first episode, it's pretty easy to tell who the main love interest is. The show seems like it's going to try and diverge different paths, but don't let the creator try to trick you into thinking it's going to be anything other than the obvious. Next up, Rurui Kenshin. I'm going to be so real with you. I know nothing about this other than the fact that Tatsuya Kitani is on this opening as well, meaning that this is the 3rd season in a row where Tatsuya Kitani's voice has been lent to an anime opening. Holy shit, are they milking this man dry. I remember when 1000-Year Blood War first came out, and that was Tatsuya Kitani's like big break into making him popular, and now I hear his voice everywhere. Am I complaining? No, but I feel like that's something that I should point out. Next is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. So this is essentially a reboot since the first season apparently didn't follow the source material that much. So I think that it's interesting that the studio is willing to go out of their way to do a proper adaptation, and I respect it. And of course, how else could I end this episode other than talking about an anime that many people are anticipating? My Wife Turns Into an Elementary Schooler. And that's this episode of On Cloud Anime. No matter where you're watching this, please comment and share your support with us in any way, shape, or form. And if you enjoy hearing the sound of my voice, check out my YouTube channel at Photaru, where I do a lot of weird things. And of course, as always, I'm your host, Photaru, and I hope to see you guys next time.